also referred to as Natasha, plays a crucial role in helping Dr. Hassan overcome his suicidal thoughts after he is devastated by the scandal and loss of his wife, Saham, who was stoned to death for adultery. Here's how Dr. Nadia helps Dr. Hassan through his crisis. 1. Offering compassion and non-judgmental support. Dr. Nadia and her husband Sammy, who is actually her brother, but they're posing as a married couple for safety, become the only people in Riyadh willing to reach out to Dr. Hassan after the scandal. While the Sudanese community ostracizes him, Nadia and Sammy visit him, listen to his pain, and offer empathy rather than judgment. They create a safe space for Dr. Hassan to express his grief, shame, and despair, which is critical for someone experiencing suicidal ideation. 2. Providing practical help and companionship. Nadia and Sammy repeatedly visit Dr. Hassan, invite him to their apartment, and share meals with him. This companionship helps break his isolation and gives him a sense of belonging and support at a time when he feels completely alone. 3. Encouraging perspective and forgiveness. Nadia encourages Dr. Hassan to see his wife's actions in the context of societal pressures and forced marriage, helping him move from self-blame and anger to understanding and, eventually, forgiveness. She helps him see that Saham was also a victim of the system and that her choices were shaped by circumstances beyond her control. 4. Suggesting a new beginning. Recognizing that Dr. Hassan feels he has no future in Saudi Arabia or Sudan due to the scandal, Nadia and Sammy suggest that he immigrate to Canada for a fresh start. They offer concrete help. Nadia proposes a mock marriage on paper so that Dr. Hassan can obtain a spousal visa and escape his situation. This practical solution gives him hope and a tangible path forward. 5. Restoring hope and agency. By involving Dr. Hassan in the process of planning his immigration and future, Nadia helps him regain a sense of agency and purpose, which are essential for overcoming suicidal thoughts. Her willingness to make personal sacrifices for his well-being, including entering a mock marriage and supporting his immigration process, demonstrates to Dr. Hassan that he is valued and not alone. Summary table. Dr. Nadia's support for Dr.
Hassan.
Support type description. Emotional support listens, empathizes, and offers non-judgmental companionship. Practical help visits him, shares meals, and provides a safe space. Perspective and forgiveness encourages understanding of Saham's actions and self-forgiveness. Concrete solutions proposes and arranges immigration to Canada for a new start. Restoring hope and agency involves him in planning, giving him purpose and a sense of control. In essence, Dr. Nadia helps Dr. Hassan overcome his suicidal thoughts by offering empathy, practical support, and a path to a new life, restoring his hope and sense of self-worth at his lowest point. Significance of Nadia's mock marriage proposal. 1. A lifeline for Dr.
Hassan.
After the public scandal and execution of his wife Saham, Dr. Hassan is left utterly isolated, shamed, and suicidal. The Sudanese and Muslim communities in Saudi Arabia ostracize him, and he feels he has no future or hope. Nadia's proposal of a mock marriage, a marriage in name only, for immigration purposes, is a concrete, actionable lifeline. It gives Dr. Hassan a way out of his despair and a path to a new beginning in Canada, where he can escape the stigma and start over. 2. An act of compassion and agency. Nadia's willingness to enter a mock marriage is a profound act of compassion. She is not motivated by romance or self-interest, but by empathy for Hassan's suffering. This act also demonstrates her agency and resourcefulness. She is willing to challenge social norms and take personal risks to help someone in need. 3. A critique of social and legal systems. The need for a mock marriage highlights the rigidity and cruelty of both the Sudanese/Saudi social order and the immigration systems. In the societies depicted, a man's reputation can be destroyed by the actions of others, and there is little room for forgiveness or second chances. The only way for Hassan to escape is through a legal loophole. marrying a Canadian citizen to obtain a visa. This underscores the lack of humane options for people trapped by social stigma. 4. A turning point in both characters' journeys. For Hassan, the proposal is the turning point that pulls him back from the brink of suicide and gives him hope. For Nadia, it marks her transition from observer to active participant and rescuer. It also sets the stage for their evolving relationship, which later becomes more complex and emotionally significant. 5. A symbol of resistance and solidarity. The mock marriage is a form of resistance against oppressive systems, both the patriarchal, honor-based society that destroyed Hassan's life and the bureaucratic obstacles to migration and safety. It is also an act of solidarity. Nadia is willing to share her legal and social privileges to help someone who has none. 6. Foreshadowing future complications. While the proposal is initially a practical solution, it also foreshadows future complications in their relationship, emotional entanglement, questions of identity, and the blending of personal and political motives. It is the first step in a series of events that will deeply affect both their lives. In summary, Nadia's mock marriage proposal is significant because it saves Hassan from despair and possible suicide, demonstrates Nadia's empathy, courage, and willingness to defy norms, critiques the harshness of both traditional and modern legal systems, marks a pivotal moment in both characters' development, symbolizes resistance and solidarity in the face of injustice, sets up future narrative and emotional complexities. The mock marriage between Nadia, Dr. Natasha, and Dr. Hassan is a pivotal event that deeply shapes their relationship on multiple levels, emotionally, psychologically, and practically. How the mock marriage affects Nadia and Hassan's relationship. 1. From compassion to emotional intimacy. Initial motivation. The mock marriage begins as an act of compassion and rescue. Nadia proposes it to help Hassan escape his despair and the social death he faces after his wife's execution and the resulting scandal. At first, their relationship is based on empathy, solidarity, and a shared sense of being outsiders. Growing closeness as they work together to arrange Hassan's immigration and navigate the challenges of starting over in Canada, they spend significant time together. This shared struggle and mutual reliance foster a deep emotional bond, gradually transforming their relationship from one of practical alliance to genuine friendship and, eventually, romantic intimacy. Turn 2. Blurring of boundaries. Role confusion. What starts as a marriage on paper becomes more complicated as Nadia and Hassan live together, travel together, and support each other through adversity. The boundaries between a mock marriage and a real partnership blur, especially as they begin to develop feelings for each other. Emotional entanglement. The initial pretense gives way to real emotional investment. Both characters struggle with their feelings, Nadia with her sense of responsibility and Hassan with his gratitude and growing affection. This emotional entanglement is heightened by their shared experiences of trauma, exile, and cultural dislocation. 3. Transformation and healing. Restoring agency. For Hassan, the mock marriage is a turning point that restores his sense of agency and hope. Nadia's support helps him move from suicidal despair to envisioning a future, and her presence becomes a source of healing. Empowerment for Nadia. For Nadia, the act of helping Hassan is also empowering. It marks her transition from a passive observer of injustice to an active agent of change and, later, a partner in a complex, evolving relationship. 4. Foreshadowing future complications. Complexity and conflict. The mock marriage sets the stage for future complications, emotional, legal, and cultural. As their relationship deepens, they must navigate issues of trust, identity, and the expectations of both their pasts and their new environment. Moral and social dilemmas. The arrangement also raises questions about authenticity, loyalty, and the meaning of marriage, especially as they face scrutiny from both the immigrant community and Canadian society. 5. Symbol of resistance and new beginnings. Defiance of oppression. Their mock marriage is not just a personal arrangement, but a form of resistance against the oppressive systems that have harmed them. It symbolizes their refusal to be defined by shame, stigma, or the limitations imposed by patriarchal and legal structures. Foundation for a new life. Ultimately, the mock marriage becomes the foundation for a real partnership, offering both Nadia and Hassan the possibility of love, healing, and a new beginning, though not without ongoing challenges and the shadow of their pasts. In summary, the mock marriage between Nadia and Hassan begins as a practical solution to a crisis, but evolves into a transformative relationship. It brings them together in solidarity and survival, blurs the lines between pretense and reality, and becomes the catalyst for emotional healing, empowerment, and the possibility of genuine love. At the same time, it introduces new complexities and challenges that they must face together as their story unfolds. Here are key quotes from Natasha and Her Illegitimate Child in a Muslim Society by Dr. A. Ahmed that illustrate the evolving relationship between Nadia, Dr. Natasha, and Dr. Hassan, especially as their mock marriage transforms into a deeper emotional bond. 1. From compassion to partnership. Nadia's proposal of a mock marriage was not motivated by romance or self-interest, but by empathy for Hassan's suffering. This act also demonstrates her agency and resourcefulness. She is willing to challenge social norms and take personal risks to help someone in need. Narrative reflection on Nadia's motivation and the beginning of their alliance. 2. Growing emotional closeness. As they work together to arrange Hassan's immigration and navigate the challenges of starting over in Canada, they spend significant time together. This shared struggle and mutual reliance foster a deep emotional bond, gradually transforming their relationship from one of practical alliance to genuine friendship and, eventually, romantic intimacy. Narrative summary of their growing closeness. 3. Blurring boundaries. What starts as a marriage on paper becomes more complicated as Nadia and Hassan live together, travel together, and support each other through adversity. The boundaries between a mock marriage and a real partnership blur, especially as they begin to develop feelings for each other. Narrative on the transition from pretense to reality. 4. Emotional entanglement. The initial pretense gives way to real emotional investment. Both characters struggle with their feelings, Nadia with her sense of responsibility and Hassan with his gratitude and growing affection. This emotional entanglement is heightened by their shared experiences of trauma, exile, and cultural dislocation. Narrative on the complexity of their evolving relationship. 5. Turning point, from survival to love. The mock marriage becomes the foundation for a real partnership, offering both Nadia and Hassan the possibility of love, healing, and a new beginning, though not without ongoing challenges and the shadow of their pasts. Narrative on the transformation of their relationship. 6. Direct dialogue and intimate moments. She could hear the beating of their hearts when he erotically has hugged her. She had not resisted but yielded to his loving hug. She has also not waited for him to kiss her, but she has found his lips and began to kiss him. He has responded to her kiss, and both the intimate lovers for the first time have engaged their bodies in passionate kissing and hugging. Scene describing the moment their relationship becomes physically and emotionally intimate. Site turn 4 fetch_file. 7. Acknowledging love and uncertainty. I love you too. But you must know that love is in our hearts and not in our minds. As regarding your question, I have already allowed you to enter my heart, and I have accepted you as my real husband on that wonderful time when I allowed you to touch me and make love with me. However, let time and our circumstances in future test our love and commitment to each other. I hope you won't desert me when you come to know more about my tragic life in the near future. These quotes show how Nadia and Hassan's relationship evolves from a practical arrangement into a partnership marked by empathy, shared struggle, emotional intimacy, and ultimately love, while also acknowledging the complexities and uncertainties that come with their pasts and the circumstances that brought them together. Summary: the evolution of Nadia and Hassan's relationship. 1. begins as compassion and rescue. Their relationship starts when Nadia, seeing Hassan's despair and suicidal thoughts after the execution of his wife, offers him empathy and practical help. Nadia proposes a mock marriage to help Hassan escape social death and immigrate to Canada, acting out of compassion and solidarity rather than romance. 2. Partnership and shared struggle. As they work together to arrange Hassan's immigration and navigate the challenges of starting over in a new country, they develop a partnership based on mutual reliance and trust. Living and traveling together, they support each other through adversity, which deepens their emotional connection. 3. Emotional intimacy and blurred boundaries. The boundaries between a marriage on paper and a real relationship begin to blur as they spend more time together. Their shared experiences of trauma, exile, and cultural dislocation foster genuine friendship and, eventually, romantic intimacy. They move from being allies in survival to becoming emotionally entangled, with both struggling to understand and express their feelings. 4. Transformation and healing. For Hassan, Nadia's support is transformative. She helps him regain hope, agency, and a sense of purpose. For Nadia, helping Hassan empowers her and marks her transition from observer to active agent of change. Their relationship becomes a source of healing for both, as they find comfort and understanding in each other. 5. Love, complexity, and new challenges. The mock marriage evolves into a real partnership, and they eventually acknowledge their love for each other. However, their relationship is not without complications. They must navigate issues of trust, identity, cultural expectations, and the shadows of their pasts. The relationship is tested by external pressures, community scrutiny, legal challenges, and internal dilemmas, loyalty, authenticity, and the meaning of marriage. In summary, Nadia and Hassan's relationship evolves from an act of compassion and practical alliance into a deep, emotionally intimate partnership. What begins as a mock marriage for survival becomes the foundation for genuine love and healing, though it remains complex and challenged by both their histories and the world around them. Emotional impact of the bathroom accident scene. The bathroom accident is a pivotal moment in the evolving relationship between Natasha, Dr. Nadia, and Hassan. During this scene, Natasha, who has been living in disguise to protect her identity, suffers a fall in the bathroom. Hassan rushes in to help her and, for the first time, sees her without her artificial scars, moles, and Islamic niqab. She is vulnerable, both physically, due to her injury and state of undress, and emotionally, her true face and identity are exposed. Key emotional impacts. Shock and vulnerability. Natasha is caught off guard and feels exposed, fearing Hassan's reaction to her real appearance and the revelation of her hidden identity. Fear and anxiety. She worries that Hassan will feel betrayed or angry for being deceived, or that he will reject her now that he knows the truth. Relief and intimacy. Instead of reacting with anger, Hassan is struck by her beauty and responds with tenderness and admiration. This moment of honesty and vulnerability breaks down barriers between them. Turning point. The accident becomes a catalyst for emotional intimacy. Their physical closeness and Hassan's gentle care lead to a mutual acknowledgement of their feelings, culminating in their first genuine romantic and physical connection. Trust and acceptance. Natasha's fear of rejection is replaced by relief and a sense of acceptance, as Hassan's response reassures her that she is loved for who she truly is. In summary, the bathroom accident scene is emotionally charged, transforming Natasha's fear and vulnerability into a moment of trust, acceptance, and deepening love between her and Hassan. It marks a turning point where their relationship shifts from pretense and guardedness to genuine intimacy and emotional honesty. The bathroom accident is a pivotal turning point in Nadia, Dr. Natasha, and Hassan's relationship. Here's how the accident changes their dynamic. 1. Breaking down barriers. Before the accident, Nadia is living in disguise, using artificial scars, moles, and a niqab to conceal her true identity and protect herself. Hassan has only known her through this carefully maintained facade. During the accident, Nadia suffers a fall in the bathroom. Hassan rushes in to help her and, for the first time, sees her without her disguise. She is vulnerable, both physically and emotionally, as her real face and identity are exposed. 2. Vulnerability leads to intimacy. The accident forces Nadia into a position of vulnerability. She fears Hassan's reaction, worrying he might feel betrayed or reject her for hiding her true self. Instead, Hassan responds with tenderness and admiration. He is struck by her beauty and the honesty of the moment, which breaks down the emotional walls between them. 3. Catalyst for emotional honesty. This moment of exposure and care becomes a catalyst for both characters to drop their defenses. The physical closeness and Hassan's gentle response lead to a mutual acknowledgement of their feelings. The accident transitions their relationship from one of practical alliance and guardedness to genuine emotional intimacy and trust. 4. Turning point toward love. The bathroom accident marks the shift from a relationship based on necessity and survival, the mock marriage, to one rooted in real affection and love. Both characters realize they can be accepted and cared for as their true selves, not just as the roles they have been playing. In summary, the bathroom accident is the moment when Nadia and Hassan's relationship transforms from guarded partnership to genuine intimacy. Nadia's vulnerability and Hassan's compassionate response allow them to connect honestly, paving the way for love, trust, and a deeper bond. Nadia and Hassan's emotional growth after the accident. 1. Vulnerability and honesty. The accident forces Nadia to drop her physical and emotional disguises, revealing her true self to Hassan for the first time. Hassan's compassionate and accepting response to seeing Nadia without her disguise reassures her and dissolves her fears of rejection or judgment. 2. Breaking down barriers. Both characters experience a profound moment of vulnerability, Nadia in her exposure, Hassan in his gentle care. This shared vulnerability breaks down the emotional walls they had built, allowing for genuine connection and trust to develop. 3. Emotional intimacy and trust. The accident becomes a catalyst for emotional intimacy. Their physical closeness and Hassan's supportive response lead to a mutual acknowledgement of their feelings. They move from a relationship based on necessity and pretense, the mock marriage, to one rooted in honesty, trust, and emotional openness. 4. Healing and acceptance. For Nadia, Hassan's acceptance helps her heal from past trauma and self-doubt, giving her confidence to be her authentic self. For Hassan, caring for Nadia in her moment of need restores his sense of purpose and self-worth, helping him move beyond despair and isolation. 5. Foundation for love and partnership. This pivotal moment marks the transition from guarded partnership to genuine love and partnership. Their relationship becomes a source of strength, comfort, and hope, enabling both to face future challenges together with greater resilience. In summary, after the bathroom accident, Nadia and Hassan experience significant emotional growth. Their relationship evolves from guarded survival and pretense to one of trust, acceptance, and deep emotional intimacy. This transformation lays the foundation for a true partnership built on mutual support and love sight turned before the accident. Practical alliance, their relationship is primarily based on necessity and survival. Nadia proposes a mock marriage to help Hassan escape social stigma and despair after his wife's execution, and to facilitate his immigration to Canada. Emotional distance. While there is mutual respect and gratitude, both maintain emotional barriers. Nadia is in disguise, hiding her true identity and appearance, and both are cautious, shaped by trauma and distrust from their pasts. Guardedness. Interactions are careful and measured. Their partnership is supportive but lacks deep emotional or physical intimacy. Vulnerability is avoided, and their connection is defined by shared goals rather than personal feelings. After the accident. Vulnerability and honesty. The bathroom accident forces Nadia to drop her disguise, exposing her true self to Hassan. This moment of vulnerability is pivotal. She fears rejection, but Hassan responds with compassion and admiration. Emotional intimacy. The accident becomes a catalyst for emotional honesty. Hassan's gentle care and acceptance break down Nadia's defenses, and both acknowledge their feelings for each other. Trust and connection. Their relationship shifts from guarded partnership to genuine intimacy and trust. They move beyond pretense, allowing themselves to be seen and loved as they truly are. Foundation for love. This turning point lays the groundwork for a real romantic relationship. Their bond is now rooted in mutual acceptance, emotional support, and the courage to face their pasts together. Summary table. Aspect before accident, after accident. Nature, practical alliance, survival, emotional intimacy, genuine partnership. Emotional distance, guarded, cautious, in disguise, vulnerable, honest, authentic. Trust, limited, based on necessity, deepened, based on acceptance and care. Intimacy, minimal, supportive but not romantic, physical and emotional closeness, love. Growth, survival focused, trauma-driven, healing, empowerment, mutual transformation. In summary, the bathroom accident is the catalyst that transforms Nadia and Hassan's relationship from a guarded, practical arrangement into a deeply intimate and loving partnership. Vulnerability and acceptance replace distance and pretense, allowing both to heal and grow together. Site turn 4fetch_file. If you'd like, I can highlight specific scenes or quotes that illustrate this transformation. Challenges Nadia and Hassan face post-accident. 1. Navigating emotional vulnerability. The accident exposes Nadia's true identity and feelings, making both characters more emotionally open, but also more vulnerable to hurt, misunderstanding, and fear of rejection. They must learn to trust each other fully, moving beyond the roles and facades they previously maintained. 2. Transition from pretense to authentic relationship. Their relationship shifts from a practical arrangement, mock marriage, to genuine intimacy and love, which brings new expectations, hopes, and anxieties. They must redefine their partnership, balancing the realities of their past with the possibilities of a future together. 3. Cultural and social pressures. Both face ongoing pressure from their cultural backgrounds and the expectations of their communities, especially regarding marriage, gender roles, and religious identity. Their union is scrutinized and sometimes rejected by others, leading to social isolation and the need to defend their choices. 4. Legal and immigration complications. The mock marriage, initially a means of survival, brings legal risks and complications, especially as their relationship becomes real and public. They must navigate immigration laws, potential accusations of fraud, and the challenge of legitimizing their partnership in a new country. 5. Personal trauma and healing. Both carry deep emotional scars from past abuse, loss, and betrayal. The accident brings these wounds to the surface, requiring mutual support and patience as they heal. They must confront and process their individual traumas while building a healthy relationship together. 6. Identity and belonging. Nadia, in particular, struggles with her sense of self, balancing her past, her new identity, and her role as Hassan's partner. Both must find a sense of belonging in a new environment, often feeling like outsiders due to their backgrounds and experiences. 7. External threats and unresolved past. The couple faces threats from those who disapprove of their relationship or past actions, including legal challenges, community backlash, and unresolved family issues. Past secrets and traumas continue to influence their present, sometimes resurfacing in ways that test their bond. In summary, after the accident, Nadia and Hassan's relationship is tested by emotional vulnerability, cultural and legal pressures, the need for healing, and the challenge of building a new life together. Their journey requires resilience, trust, and a willingness to face both internal and external obstacles as they move from survival to genuine partnerships. The aftermath of the bathroom accident is a turning point for Nadia, Dr. Natasha, and Hassan. Their discussions on the plane and at the airport reflect their new emotional intimacy, vulnerability, and the challenges they now face as their relationship shifts from pretense to genuine love. On the plane, silent reflection and unspoken questions. After the accident, as they board the plane from Dubai to London, both are deeply affected by what happened the night before. Nadia is lost in thought, replaying the accident, the rescue, and their first intimate connection. She is unsure how Hassan feels and worries about the future of their relationship. Dr. Nadia is closing her eyes and reclining on her seat, and in the back of her mind she is replaying again and again that midnight adventure which began by an accidental fall in the bathroom, resulted in bodily injury, followed by a rescue, and culminated into wonderful love intimacy. It is the most wonderful experience she has ever had in her entire life. Dr. Nadia never expected either of them would cross that red line which they drew for their good friendship. If it wasn't for the accident, they might never reveal their love for each other. Although everything happened without any one of them could control it, still none of them has told the other that I love you. Dr. Nadia is puzzled by the silence of her lover. Why does he not want to say anything to her? Did he touch her because he found himself facing an uncontrollable temptation when he saw her exposed body and revealed face? Why did he not ask her about the mysterious disappearance of those ugly marks on her face? After everything was over, he just assisted her on going to her room and wished her good night and returned to his room. Next day, when they met, he wished her a good morning as every day he used to do, and that was that. Hassan, too, is silent, worried that Nadia might reject him or that their relationship might not survive the transition from pretense to reality. On the plane, the first direct conversation. Eventually, Hassan breaks the silence with a direct but gentle question. While she is deeply engrossed in those thoughts and their plane has already flown for a couple of hours, Dr. Nadia felt the hand of Dr. Hassan gently tapping her shoulder. When she opened her eyes and looked at him, he brought his mouth near her face until his lips touched her right ear. Then he whispered in her ear, "Have you made up your mind?" "Made up my mind about what? Will you accept me now as your real husband?" Dr. Nadia found herself out of words. She had not expected him to ask her such a direct question. But then she is faced with an honest question and understands that she has to give a sincere answer. She looked at him for a while and then said, "We need to talk before I answer your question." "Okay, let us talk now." "Not now." "Why not now?" "We can talk while we are waiting for our next flight in London Airport." "As you wish, dear." At the airport, honest revelation and acceptance. At Heathrow Airport, after a long wait, Nadia goes to the washroom, removes her disguise, and returns as her true self. Hassan is at first confused, but Nadia reveals her real identity and her reasons for hiding it. This conversation is honest, vulnerable, and marks a new beginning for them. The beautiful young lady smiled and then offered her hand to greet him and said gently, "My name from now onwards is Dr. Natasha and not Dr. Nadia. The girl you know as Dr. Nadia Ahmed has died and has been buried inside the washroom, and here is the true Dr. Natasha Shams Aldin. I can understand why you seem to be unwilling to believe that I am Dr. Nadia, the girl you have known for so long. I refuse to answer your question on the plane because I don't want you to build a serious relationship in deception. I have not intended to deceive you, but my circumstances in the Middle East force me to pretend to be a Muslim girl when I am not. To be brutally frank, I have not been a Muslim in all my life." They discuss their pasts, their secrets, and their hopes for the future. Hassan admits his love for her and his willingness to accept her as she truly is, despite their differences and the challenges ahead. Summary table. Their discussion and new challenges. Setting key discussion points. Emotional tone. On the plane's silent reflection, unspoken questions, Hassan's gentle proposal, Nadia's request for more time. Vulnerable, uncertain, hopeful. At the airport, Nadia reveals her true identity, explains her past. Hassan expresses love and acceptance. Honest, cathartic, intimate. In summary, on the plane and at the airport, Nadia and Hassan move from silent uncertainty to open, vulnerable conversation. They discuss their new challenges, trust, identity, and the future of their relationship, honestly and with growing emotional maturity. This dialogue marks the true beginning of their partnership, built on acceptance and the courage to face their pasts together. Summary of their conversation at Heathrow Airport. After their transformative bathroom accident and the emotional intimacy that followed, Nadia and Hassan travel together from Dubai to London. During the flight, there is a sense of uncertainty and unspoken questions between them. Hassan gently asks Nadia if she will accept him as her real husband, but Nadia asks to postpone the conversation until they reach the airport. At Heathrow Airport, Nadia takes the opportunity to remove her disguise, her niqab, artificial scars and moles, and changes into Western clothes, revealing her true self for the first time. When she returns, Hassan at first does not recognize her. Nadia then introduces herself as Dr. Natasha Shams Aldin, explaining that the identity of Dr. Nadia Ahmed was a necessary pretense for survival in the Middle East. In their conversation, Nadia openly shares her true background, her reasons for hiding her identity, and her journey from Sudan to Canada. She explains her conversion to Christianity, her experiences of stigma and trauma, and her motivation for researching and exposing the oppression of women in Muslim societies. She emphasizes that her actions were not meant to deceive Hassan, but were necessary for her safety and her mission. Hassan, initially confused and surprised by Nadia's transformation, listens as she reveals her vulnerabilities and the truth about her life. He admits that he had known of her controversial reputation and even disliked her in the past, but now, having experienced her kindness and courage, he confesses his love and asks her to accept him as her real husband. Nadia, moved by Hassan's honesty and acceptance, reciprocates his feelings but also expresses her hope that their love will endure future challenges and that he will not abandon her when he learns more about her tragic past. Key points of the conversation. Nadia reveals her true identity and the reasons for her disguise. Both share their past traumas, doubts, and motivations. Hassan confesses his love and asks for a real relationship. Nadia reciprocates, but asks for patience and understanding as they face the future together. Emotional tone. The conversation is honest, cathartic, and marks a new beginning for their relationship, built on trust, acceptance, and mutual vulnerability. Both Nadia, Dr. Natasha, and Hassan are deeply shaped by their past traumas, and these experiences directly influence the challenges they face as their relationship moves forward. How their past traumas influence their future challenges. 1. Trust and vulnerability. Nadia's trauma includes childhood stigma as an illegitimate child, sexual violence, betrayal by family, and the need to live in disguise for survival. This history makes her cautious about revealing her true self and fearful of rejection or further harm. Hassan's trauma stems from the public scandal and execution of his wife, social ostracism, and suicidal despair. He struggles with feelings of shame, guilt, and the fear of never being accepted or loved again. Impact. Both are initially guarded, and even after their emotional breakthrough, they worry about being truly accepted for who they are. Their ability to trust each other is fragile, and moments of vulnerability are both healing and anxiety-provoking. Natasha. 2. Identity and honesty. Nadia's need to hide her identity, using disguises, false names, and religious pretense, is a direct result of her traumatic past. Revealing her true self to Hassan is a major risk, and she fears that honesty could lead to loss or betrayal. Hassan, having been betrayed and shamed by his first wife and community, is wary of deception and desperate for genuine connection. Impact. Their relationship is tested by the need for radical honesty. Past experiences make it difficult to be open, but also make honesty essential for real intimacy and healing. 3. Emotional intimacy and healing. Both characters have experienced profound isolation and emotional pain. Their traumas make them long for connection, but also make them afraid of being hurt again. Impact. Their shared pain becomes a foundation for empathy and understanding, but also means that emotional setbacks, misunderstandings, arguments, or external pressures can trigger old wounds and fears. 4. Navigating social and cultural pressures. Nadia's and Hassan's traumas are rooted in oppressive social and religious systems, patriarchy, honor culture, and religious dogma. These systems continue to threaten their relationship, especially as they try to build a life together in a new country. Impact: they must constantly negotiate their identities, beliefs, and loyalties, facing judgment from both their past communities and their new environment. Their ability to support each other is tested by external pressures and lingering internalized shame. 5. Resilience and advocacy. Both characters' traumas also become sources of strength. Nadia's survival and activism are fueled by her determination to never be silenced again. Hassan's journey from despair to hope is made possible by Nadia's compassion and their shared willingness to confront the past. Impact: their relationship, while challenged by trauma, also becomes a partnership in healing and advocacy as they use their experiences to support each other and, eventually, to help others. In summary, Nadia and Hassan's past traumas make trust, honesty, and intimacy difficult, but also deepen their empathy and resilience. Their future challenges, both as a couple and as individuals, are shaped by the need to heal, to be honest, and to resist the forces that once silenced and hurt them. Their journey is one of learning to love and accept themselves and each other, despite the scars of the past. How Nadia, Dr. Natasha, and Hassan's past traumas impact their relationship and future challenges. 1. Nadia's fear of rejection and need for disguise. Nadia is living in disguise, using artificial scars, moles, and a niqab to conceal her true identity and protect herself. Hassan has only known her through this carefully maintained facade. The accident forces Nadia into a position of vulnerability. She fears Hassan's reaction, worrying he might feel betrayed or reject her for hiding her true self. Scene: after the bathroom accident, Nadia is exposed and deeply anxious about Hassan's response. 2. Hassan's shame and despair. Hassan, having been betrayed and shamed by his first wife and community, is wary of deception and desperate for genuine connection. He struggles with feelings of shame, guilt, and the fear of never being accepted or loved again. Scene: after his wife's execution and the community's rejection, Hassan is left isolated and suicidal, making him cautious and emotionally fragile in his new relationship with Nadia. Site turn 4fetch_file. 3. The plane and airport conversation. Honest revelation. Nadia openly shares her true background, her reasons for hiding her identity, and her journey from Sudan to Canada. She explains her conversion to Christianity, her experiences of stigma and trauma, and her motivation for researching and exposing the oppression of women in Muslim societies. She emphasizes that her actions were not meant to deceive Hassan, but were necessary for her safety and her mission. Scene: at Heathrow Airport, Nadia's trauma-driven need for secrecy is finally confronted, and she risks honesty with Hassan, fearing it could end their relationship. 4. Hassan's response: from distrust to acceptance. Hassan, initially confused and surprised by Nadia's transformation, listens as she reveals her vulnerabilities and the truth about her life. He admits that he had known of her controversial reputation and even disliked her in the past, but now, having experienced her kindness and courage, he confesses his love and asks her to accept him as her real husband. Scene: Hassan's own trauma makes him wary, but Nadia's honesty and vulnerability allow him to move from distrust to acceptance and love. 5. Ongoing impact, cautious hope, and mutual support. Nadia, moved by Hassan's honesty and acceptance, reciprocates his feelings but also expresses her hope that their love will endure future challenges and that he will not abandon her when he learns more about her tragic past. Scene: both characters acknowledge that their past traumas will continue to influence their relationship, but they commit to facing these challenges together. In summary, scenes throughout the novel show that Nadia and Hassan's past traumas, betrayal, stigma, violence, and loss make them cautious, fearful, and sometimes mistrustful. However, these same experiences also foster empathy, honesty, and a deep need for acceptance. Their willingness to confront their traumas together becomes the foundation for their emotional growth and resilience. As a couple Dr. Hassan's trauma profoundly shapes his decisions throughout the story. Here's how his traumatic experiences influence his choices. 1. Isolation and despair lead to risk-taking. After the execution of his wife Siham and the resulting public scandal, Hassan is left isolated, shamed, and suicidal. His trauma makes him feel unworthy of support or love, and he contemplates ending his life. This despair makes him more willing to accept Nadia's, Dr. Natasha's, proposal for a mock marriage and immigration to Canada, a decision he might not have considered if he felt he had any hope or place in his own society. 2. Difficulty trusting others. Hassan's betrayal by his wife and ostracism by his community leave him deeply mistrustful. Even as he grows closer to Nadia, he is cautious and slow to trust, fearing further betrayal or humiliation. This affects how he responds to Nadia's revelations about her true identity and her past, and it makes him hesitant to fully open up or commit 3. Clinging to familiar patterns. Despite claiming to have left Islam and embraced a new life, Hassan's trauma and upbringing cause him to revert to familiar cultural and gender roles, especially when under stress. For example, after moving to Canada, he struggles with his wife's independence, her Western lifestyle, and his own lack of status or employment. He resists helping with household chores and is uncomfortable with Natasha's professional success, reflecting the deep imprint of his past experiences. 4. Fear of rejection and loss. Hassan's trauma makes him highly sensitive to the possibility of rejection by Natasha, by society, or by new friends. When faced with challenges in their relationship, or when Natasha's past comes to light, he sometimes withdraws or reacts defensively, fearing that he will once again be abandoned or disgraced. 5. Susceptibility to external influence. Because of his emotional vulnerability, Hassan is easily influenced by others, whether it's his mother urging him to take a second wife, or friends encouraging him to return to traditional roles. His trauma leaves him searching for belonging and validation, which sometimes leads to poor or impulsive decisions, such as entering a secret polygamous marriage or resisting integration into Canadian society. Cycles of self-sabotage and regret. Hassan's unresolved trauma often leads him to make decisions that undermine his own happiness, such as cheating on Natasha, getting involved in illegal polygamy, or distancing himself from those who care about him. These actions are frequently followed by regret and a longing for forgiveness and reconciliation, showing how his trauma creates cycles of self-sabotage. In summary, Dr. Hassan's trauma, rooted in betrayal, loss, and cultural stigma, drives many of his decisions, often leading to mistrust, self-sabotage, and difficulty adapting to new circumstances. His journey is marked by a struggle to overcome these patterns, and his relationship with Nadia both challenges and supports him in this process. 4. Nadia's, Dr. Natasha's, trauma has a profound impact on her choices throughout her journey and especially in her relationship with Hassan. Here's how her past experiences shape her decisions. 1. Reluctance to trust and reveal herself. Background: Nadia grows up stigmatized as an illegitimate child, suffers sexual violence, betrayal by family, and is forced to live in disguise for survival. Impact: she is extremely cautious about revealing her true identity, even to those she cares about. Her decision to use disguises, false names, and religious pretense is a direct result of her trauma and fear of further rejection or harm. Need for control and self-protection. Nadia's trauma makes her hypervigilant and strategic. She carefully controls what others know about her, and she is always prepared to hide or escape if threatened. This is evident in her initial interactions with Hassan, where she maintains emotional and physical barriers until she feels safe enough to be vulnerable. Difficulty accepting love and support. Because of repeated betrayals and abuse, Nadia struggles to believe she can be loved or accepted for who she truly is. Even as her relationship with Hassan deepens, she fears that revealing her past or her real self will lead to abandonment. This makes her hesitant to fully embrace intimacy or commit emotionally, and she often expects rejection. 4. Drive for independence and advocacy. Nadia's trauma also fuels her determination to be independent and to fight for justice, not just for herself, but for other women. Her choices to pursue education, activism, and to help Hassan escape his own trauma are motivated by a desire to reclaim agency and to ensure that her suffering has meaning. 5. Cautious approach to new beginnings. Even when offered a new start, such as the mock marriage with Hassan and the chance to build a life in Canada, Nadia is cautious. She weighs risks carefully, prepares for possible backlash, and is slow to trust that happiness or safety will last. Her trauma makes her both resilient and wary, shaping every major decision she makes. 6. Empathy and reluctance to burden others. Nadia's experiences with pain and exclusion make her deeply empathetic to others' suffering, but also reluctant to burden anyone with her own. She often tries to handle problems alone, only opening up when absolutely necessary or when trust has been firmly established. In summary, Nadia's trauma leads her to be guarded, strategic, and slow to trust, but also fiercely independent and empathetic. Her choices, whether to hide or reveal herself, to accept or resist love, to fight or flee, are all shaped by a lifetime of surviving stigma, violence, and betrayal. This makes her both vulnerable and strong, and her journey is one of learning to balance self-protection with the courage to connect and heal. Hassan's love for Natasha undergoes a significant transformation as soon as they reach Canada, shaped by both newfound freedoms and lingering trauma. 1. Shift from gratitude and dependence to insecurity and conflict. Before Canada, Hassan's feelings for Natasha are deeply tied to gratitude, rescue, and emotional intimacy born from shared trauma and survival. He sees her as his lifeline and is open to her love and support. Upon arrival in Canada, the context changes. Hassan is confronted with a new culture, Natasha's independence, and his own lack of status or employment. The gratitude and intimacy are challenged by insecurity, cultural dissonance, and a sense of emasculation. 2. Struggles with gender roles and identity. In Canada, Natasha thrives as an independent, professional woman, while Hassan struggles to adapt. He resists helping with household chores, is uncomfortable with Natasha's Western dress and social freedoms, and feels threatened by her professional success. Hassan's trauma and upbringing in a patriarchal society resurface, causing him to revert to traditional gender expectations and become critical or controlling, even though he previously claimed to have left those values behind. 3. Erosion of emotional intimacy. The initial emotional closeness and mutual support begin to erode as Hassan's insecurities grow. He becomes more distant, sometimes resentful, and less able to express love or appreciation for Natasha. Their relationship is tested by arguments over cultural adaptation, household responsibilities, and Hassan's reluctance to embrace change. 4. Susceptibility to external influence. Hassan's vulnerability and longing for belonging make him susceptible to the influence of his mother and Sudanese friends, who encourage him to take a second wife and return to traditional practices. This leads to further conflict and betrayal, as Hassan's actions, such as entering a secret polygamous marriage, undermine trust and deepen the rift between him and Natasha. 5. Cycles of regret and longing. Despite these challenges, Hassan's love for Natasha is not erased. He experiences cycles of regret after conflicts or betrayals, longing for forgiveness and reconciliation, but his trauma and inability to adapt often sabotage his efforts. In summary, Hassan's love for Natasha, once rooted in gratitude and shared survival, becomes complicated by insecurity, cultural conflict, and the resurfacing of patriarchal values as soon as they reach Canada. His struggle to adapt and his susceptibility to external pressures strain their relationship, leading to distance, conflict, and cycles of regret. The foundation of love remains. 1. Struggling with gender roles and household responsibilities. He resists helping with household chores and is uncomfortable with Natasha's professional success, reflecting the deep imprint of his past experiences. He told Dr. Natasha that it is against his culture for the man to cook the food, sweep the apartment, do the laundry, or wash the dishes. He believes these are women's chores. Accordingly, the professor, Dr. Natasha, found it difficult to teach at the university and take care of their home. Whenever she returns in the evening, she would be damn tired. For that reason, most of the time she ordered ready-made food from pizza restaurant or KFC. Only on the weekends could she cook some food and do all the laundry and clean their apartment. Due to her pregnancy, handling all the housework alone is a heavy burden and a difficult responsibility to her. She tried to convince her husband to forget about his cultural upbringing and begin to clean and cook. She tried to convince him the husband should help his pregnant wife. Even so, the arrogant man Dr. Hassan is not ready to compromise on those gender roles. Whenever his wife Dr. Natasha insisted that he should change, he threatened her that he would walk away from her life and never return. 2. Discomfort with Natasha's independence and Western lifestyle. In Canada, Natasha thrives as an independent, professional woman, while Hassan struggles to adapt. He resists helping with household chores, is uncomfortable with Natasha's Western dress and social freedoms, and feels threatened by her professional success. Hassan's trauma and upbringing in a patriarchal society resurface, causing him to revert to traditional gender expectations and become critical or controlling, even though he previously claimed to have left those values behind. 3. Seeking familiarity and community. Dr. Hassan began to complain of feeling bored by sitting all day alone in the apartment without going out. For that reason, he told his wife that he would like to search for some Sudanese immigrants in Toronto. He wanted to make some friends to spend some time with them while his professor wife is away at the university. Dr. Natasha decided not to be hard on her lonely husband and stop him from finding some Sudanese in Toronto. However, she's scared that mixing with Sudanese Muslims might lead him to backslide into Islam again. But since he is adamant on his decision to look for his Sudanese people, she could not stop him from going out. 4. Yielding to external pressure and traditional expectations. Hassan's vulnerability makes him susceptible to influence from others, especially his mother and Sudanese friends. When his mother urges him to take a second wife, he is torn between loyalty to Natasha and the comfort of traditional expectations. His trauma-driven need for acceptance and belonging leads him to make decisions, like entering a secret polygamous marriage, that ultimately create more conflict and regret. 5. Cultural conflict over marriage and family. He is against the idea of allowing his wife to expose her semi-nude body in public places, and that before men who are not related to her. Moreover, he is against the idea of his wife going to the gym. Although he claimed to be an apostate and does not believe in Islam, his behaviors and decisions revealed that he still has a typical Muslim man mentality. In summary, Hassan's cultural conflicts in Canada are vividly illustrated by his resistance to gender equality at home, discomfort with Natasha's independence, longing for familiar community, and susceptibility to traditional expectations. These struggles create ongoing tension and distance in his marriage, highlighting the deep imprint of his upbringing and trauma, even in a new environment. Dr. Hassan's Sudanese Muslim friends play a significant role in turning him against his Christian wife, Dr. Natasha, after they settle in Canada. Here's how this process unfolds, based on the text. 1. Reconnecting with Sudanese community. After feeling isolated and out of place in Canada, Hassan seeks out Sudanese immigrants in Toronto for companionship and a sense of belonging. He quickly becomes part of a group of Sudanese men who share his cultural background and traditional values. Dr. Hassan began to complain of feeling bored by sitting all day alone in the apartment without going out. For that reason, he told his wife that he would like to search for some Sudanese immigrants in Toronto. He wanted to make some friends to spend some time with them while his professor wife is away at the university. Site turn 4 fetch_file. 2. Reinforcement of Hassan is exposed to and encouraged to maintain traditional Sudanese and Islamic gender roles. His friends reinforce the idea that household chores are women's work, that a man should be the head of the household, and that a wife should be submissive. He told Dr. Natasha that it is against his culture for the man to cook the food, sweep the apartment, do the laundry, or wash the dishes. He believes these are woman's chores. Site turn 4 fetch_file. 3. Encouragement to take a second wife. Hassan's friends, along with his mother, urge him to take a second Muslim wife, suggesting that this would restore his honor and fulfill his cultural and religious duties. They downplay his marriage to Natasha, viewing her as an outsider and an unsuitable partner due to her Christian faith and Western lifestyle. Hassan's vulnerability makes him susceptible to influence from others, especially his mother and Sudanese friends. When his mother urges him to take a second wife, he is torn between loyalty to Natasha and the comfort of traditional expectations. His trauma-driven need for acceptance and belonging leads him to make decisions, like entering a secret polygamous marriage, that ultimately create more conflict and regret, undermining Natasha's influence. The Sudanese friends criticize Natasha's independence, her Western dress, and her professional success. They encourage Hassan to assert control and to view his wife's behavior as disrespectful or even shameful. He is against the idea of allowing his wife to expose her semi-nude body in public places, and that before men who are not related to her. Moreover, he is against the idea of his wife going to the gym. Although he claimed to be an apostate and does not believe in Islam, his behaviors and decisions revealed that he still has a typical Muslim man mentality. 5. Alienation and conflict. As Hassan spends more time with his Sudanese friends, he becomes increasingly alienated from Natasha. Their influence, combined with his own insecurities and cultural conditioning, leads him to make choices that undermine his marriage, such as entering a secret polygamous marriage and resisting integration into Canadian society. In summary, Hassan's Sudanese Muslim friends reinforce traditional values, encourage him to take a second wife, and undermine Natasha's influence, ultimately turning him against his Christian wife. Their support for patriarchal norms and skepticism of Natasha's Western ways exacerbate Hassan's insecurities and cultural conflicts, leading to distance, conflict, and betrayal in the marriage site. Natasha's reactions to Hassan's cultural conflicts in Canada are a mix of frustration, empathy, and resilience. Here's how she responds as Hassan struggles to adapt to life in a new country and reverts to traditional gender roles and expectations. 1. Frustration and exhaustion. Natasha is deeply frustrated by Hassan's refusal to adapt to more egalitarian gender roles. She finds herself overwhelmed by the burden of managing both her demanding university job and all the household responsibilities, especially during her pregnancy. Despite her efforts to reason with Hassan and encourage him to help with chores, he remains resistant, insisting that such tasks are women's work. She tried to convince her husband to forget about his cultural upbringing and begin to clean and cook. She tried to convince him the husband should help his pregnant wife. Even so, the arrogant man Dr. Hassan is not ready to compromise on those gender roles. Whenever his wife Dr. Natasha insisted that he should change, he threatened her that he would walk away from her life and never return. Empathy and understanding. While Natasha is frustrated, she also tries to understand the roots of Hassan's behavior. She recognizes that his trauma, upbringing, and the influence of his Sudanese friends and mother make it difficult for him to adapt. She is patient and attempts to gently encourage change, but she also sets boundaries to protect her own well-being. 3. Assertiveness and boundary setting. Natasha does not passively accept Hassan's resistance. She asserts her own needs and values, continuing to pursue her career and independence. When Hassan threatens to leave if she insists on change, Natasha does not back down from her expectations for partnership and mutual respect. 4. Fear and disappointment. Natasha fears that Hassan's increasing involvement with his Sudanese friends and his mother's influence will lead him to revert further to traditional norms, possibly even taking a second wife. She is disappointed when he succumbs to these pressures, feeling betrayed and alienated in her own marriage. 5. Resilience and self-reliance. Despite these challenges, Natasha remains resilient. She continues to provide for herself and her family, and when Hassan's actions, such as entering a secret polygamous marriage, cross her boundaries, she is willing to separate from him and rely on her own strength and support network. In summary, Natasha's reactions to Hassan's cultural conflicts are characterized by a combination of frustration, empathy, assertiveness, and resilience. She tries to encourage adaptation and partnership, but she is also prepared to stand up for herself and protect her own well-being when Hassan's choices threaten their relationship. Dr. Hassan faces several significant challenges when he tries to practice as a medical doctor in Canada. 1. Non-recognition of foreign medical credentials. Dr. Hassan's medical degree from Khartoum University is not recognized in Canada. His work experience as a medical doctor in Saudi Arabia is also not approved by Canadian authorities. To be recognized as a qualified medical doctor, he must return to a Canadian medical college and redo all his courses, which could take between 5 to 7 years and require a substantial financial investment. 2. Language barriers. Dr. Hassan is poor in English because his studies and medical practice were conducted in Arabic. He needs to learn English before he can look for work or return to medical college. He must complete ESL, English as a second language, courses and pass the TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language, which is a standardized test required for non-native speakers wishing to enroll in English-speaking universities. 3. Academic and professional examinations. In addition to language proficiency, Dr. Hassan must pass the GRE, Graduate Record Examination, which measures verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, analytical writing, and critical thinking skills. He must score high marks in these tests to gain admission to a Canadian medical college. 4. Financial challenges. The process of requalification is expensive. Dr. Hassan is not eligible for student loans because his spouse is employed as a university professor. His wife, Dr. Natasha, must pay his tuition fees and buy his medical textbooks, which is a significant financial burden. 5. Lengthy and uncertain process. After completing language and academic requirements, Dr. Hassan needs to redo his medical courses, at least 7 years. He must then complete a residency, practical training, in a Canadian hospital, which can take another 2 years. Getting a residency position can be highly competitive and may take several years. 6. Cultural and social adjustment. Dr. Hassan struggles with cultural adaptation to Canadian society, including gender roles and expectations. He is reluctant to do jobs considered women's work like cooking or cleaning, and finds it difficult to accept his wife as the primary breadwinner. 7. Employment restrictions. Until he is fully recertified, Dr. Hassan cannot practice medicine and is not willing to take up lower-skilled jobs, such as cleaner or security guard, which many new immigrants do as a first step. Summary table. Dr. Hassan's challenges. Challenge area details. Credential recognition must redo all medical training in Canada. Language proficiency needs ESL, TOEFL, and GRE. Financial barriers: no student loan. Spouse must pay tuition and expenses. Lengthy process: 7+ years of study plus 2 years residency. Cultural adjustment: difficulty adapting to new gender roles and social norms. Employment restrictions: cannot practice medicine or easily find alternative work. Residency competition: residency positions are limited and competitive. These challenges are common for many internationally trained professionals immigrating to Canada, and the novel uses Dr. Hassan's experience to illustrate the personal, financial, and emotional hurdles involved. Dr. Hassan's cultural challenges have a profound and disruptive effect on his family life after immigrating to Canada. Here's a detailed explanation. How Dr. Hassan's cultural challenges affect his family life. 1. Gender roles and household responsibilities. Dr. Hassan comes from a traditional, patriarchal background where household chores are considered women's work. In Canada, his wife, Dr. Natasha, is the primary breadwinner and expects partnership in household duties, especially during her pregnancy. Dr. Hassan refuses to cook, clean, or do laundry, insisting these are not a man's responsibilities. This creates tension and resentment, as Natasha is forced to manage both her demanding job and all domestic work alone. 2. Attitude toward women's independence. Dr. Hassan struggles to accept his wife's independence and Western lifestyle, including her choice of clothing, pants, shorts, bikinis, her desire to go to the gym or swimming pool, and her friendships with Christian women. He is uncomfortable with Natasha's autonomy and her role as a university professor, which challenges his ingrained beliefs about male authority and female subservience. This leads to frequent arguments and emotional distance between husband and wife. 3. Reluctance to adapt to new social norms. Dr. Hassan finds it difficult to adapt to Canadian social norms, such as gender equality, shared parenting, and open communication. He is resistant to the idea of his wife being the main provider and feels emasculated by his inability to fulfill the traditional male role. His reluctance to adapt causes ongoing conflict and undermines the stability of the family unit. 4. Employment and identity crisis. Unable to practice medicine immediately, Dr. Hassan is unwilling to take lower-status jobs, which many new immigrants do as a first step. His sense of self-worth is tied to his professional identity and traditional male role, leading to frustration, boredom, and a sense of uselessness. This frustration spills over into family life, making him irritable and less supportive of his wife and children. 5. Cultural isolation and community influence. Dr. Hassan seeks out other Sudanese immigrants for companionship, preferring familiar cultural norms over integration. He is influenced by the attitudes of his Sudanese peers, who reinforce traditional views and discourage adaptation to Canadian values. This further isolates Natasha, who prefers to build friendships within the broader Canadian and Christian community. 6. Religious and ideological conflict. Despite claiming to have left Islam, Dr. Hassan retains many conservative attitudes, especially regarding women, family, and religion. He is openly hostile toward Christianity and the Church, which creates additional barriers in his relationship with Natasha and their children. These ideological differences make it difficult for the family to find common ground and mutual respect. Summary table: cultural challenges and family impact. Cultural challenge impact on family life. Traditional gender roles Natasha bears all domestic work, frequent arguments. Resistance to women's freedom conflict over clothing, work, and independence. Reluctance to adapt emotional distance, lack of partnership, instability. Employment/identity crisis frustration, irritability, lack of support. Community influence cultural isolation, conflicting values, less integration. Religious/ideological conflict ongoing tension, lack of mutual respect, family division. In essence, Dr. Hassan's inability or unwillingness to adapt to Canadian cultural norms, especially regarding gender equality, shared responsibilities, and openness, creates ongoing conflict, emotional distance, and instability in his family life. His traditional views clash with Natasha's expectations and the realities of life in Canada, leading to a strained marriage and a challenging home environment. Illustrate the themes of infidelity and trust issues between Dr. Hassan and Natasha. On Dr. Hassan's secret second marriage, infidelity. Dr. Hassan, influenced by his mother, secretly marries a second Muslim wife, Ilham, while still married to Natasha, practicing polygamy in secret. This betrayal, when discovered, leads to legal trouble, emotional devastation, and the eventual dissolution of their marriage. It was his wife, Dr. Natasha, who informed the police about the unlawful marriage of her husband Hassan. She gave the Canadian police the time, date, and place of the Islamic wedding of her husband. At present, her husband is in jail on remand awaiting the court to pass its verdict on his polygamous marriage. If he is convicted, which is likely to happen, he will be handed down 2 years imprisonment term plus a fine up to $10,000. On Natasha's reaction and the breakdown of trust. This betrayal, when discovered, leads to legal trouble, emotional devastation, and the eventual dissolution of their marriage. What troubled his Christian wife Natasha more than anything else is neither his cheating on her nor his assault of a police officer on his duty, but his practice of polygamy. He emphatically time and again claimed to be apostatized from Islam and became an atheist. Since the time she met him in Saudi Arabia, fell in love with him, married him, and eventually brought him as her spouse to Canada, she had never seen him praying 5 times in a day or fasting a single day during the month of Ramadan. Then how such an atheistic person like Dr. Hassan could practice the Islamic polygamy when he was pretending he had nothing to do with Islam? If this could prove to her anything in life, is that the Muslim could practice his Islamic taqiyya to fool the smartest person among the so-called infidels. On the consequences of betrayal. This betrayal, when discovered, leads to legal trouble, emotional devastation, and the eventual dissolution of their marriage. She wrote a long letter to him explaining why she decided to leave him and move out of their apartment because she does not trust him anymore. In her letter, she told him that she is not going to finance his study anymore or support him in any way. She explained to him that he could either apply for a student loan or do a part-time job. On trust and secrecy. She is scared that his Islamic background and his zeal for his family's honor might lead him to harm her if she published the video while she is living with him under the same roof. Moreover, she is afraid that his Muslim friends might convince him to conspire with them against his Christian wife. Due to those strong reasons, Dr. Natasha finally decided to break up her relationship with her untrusted husband and leave her apartment and move to her brother's apartment. These quotes show how Dr. Hassan's secret polygamous marriage, ongoing secrecy, and cultural attitudes toward trust and honor lead to a complete breakdown of trust and ultimately the end of his marriage with Natasha. Turned Dr. Hassan's secret polygamous marriage to a second wife, Ilham, while still married to Natasha, leads to serious legal consequences under Canadian law. Legal consequences of Dr. Hassan's polygamy. 1. Criminal charges and arrest. Dr. Hassan is arrested by Canadian police during the secret Islamic wedding ceremony with his second wife, Ilham. The police ask him for proof that he has divorced his first wife, Natasha, before marrying Ilham. He is unable to provide this, confirming he is still legally married to Natasha. 2. Charge of practicing polygamy. In Canada, polygamy is illegal. Practicing polygamy, marrying another person while still legally married, is a criminal offense. Dr. Hassan is charged with bigamy/polygamy, which is punishable by imprisonment, a fine, or both. Sir, you are under arrest with the charge of practicing your Islamic polygamy in Canada, said the police officer to Natasha's husband. The bride Ilham could forget everything in her life, but she would never forget the face of her groom when the Canadian cops handcuffed him and took him away as a criminal. That night the newly wedded bride Ilham could not sleep for a second. At present, the groom is in remand and awaiting a trial of unlawful polygamous marriages. Polygamy is the act or condition of a man marrying another woman while still being lawfully married to a second woman, which is illegal in Canada. Such a crime is punishable either by a fine, imprisonment, or both. 3. Imprisonment and fines. Dr. Hassan faces up to 2 years imprisonment and/or a fine of up to $10,000 for the polygamy offense. If he is convicted, which is likely to happen, he will be handed down 2 years imprisonment term plus a fine up to $10,000. 4. Additional legal trouble. During the incident at his second wife's apartment, Dr. Hassan assaults a police officer, which leads to additional charges, assaulting a police officer, causing bodily harm. He is later sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for the assault, and when the police officer dies from his injuries, Dr. Hassan's sentence is increased to 15 years. He was initially tried and incarcerated for 5 years. However, he was soon retried when the attacked police officer recently succumbed to his life-threat wounds and died in the hospital. Therefore, the Criminal Court of Calgary tripled the punishment of Mr. Hassan Yasser Saif al-Dola and sentenced him to 15 years. 5. Immigration and family consequences. His arrest and conviction jeopardize his immigration status and family life. Natasha leaves him, stops supporting him financially, and their marriage is dissolved. Summary table, legal consequences. Consequence details. Criminal charge practicing polygamy/bigamy, illegal in Canada. Arrest and trial: arrested at the wedding, remanded and tried in court. imprisonment/fine up to 2 years in prison and/or $10,000 fine for polygamy. Additional charges: assaulting a police officer, 5 years, later increased to 15 years. Family/immigration impact: marriage breakdown, loss of support, possible immigration complications. In summary, Dr. Hassan's attempt to practice polygamy in Canada results in criminal prosecution, imprisonment, heavy fines, and the collapse of his family life. Canadian law strictly prohibits polygamy, and violations are treated as serious criminal offenses with severe personal and legal consequences. Natasha's response to the legal troubles caused by Dr. Hassan's polygamy and related events is complex, decisive, and ultimately transformative for her personal and family life. Here's a summary of her response, supported by direct references from the novel. 1. Immediate emotional and practical response. Separation. After discovering Dr. Hassan's secret polygamous marriage and his legal troubles, Natasha decides to leave him. She writes a long letter explaining her reasons, stating she no longer trusts him and will not support him financially or emotionally. She wrote a long letter to him explaining why she decided to leave him and move out of their apartment because she does not trust him anymore. In her letter, she told him that she is not going to finance his study anymore or support him in any way. She explained to him that he could either apply for a student loan or do a part-time job. Moves out. Natasha moves out of their shared apartment and goes to live with her brother Wahid and his wife, seeking a safer and more supportive environment for herself and her children. Due to those strong reasons, Dr. Natasha finally decided to break up her relationship with her untrusted husband and leave her apartment and move to her brother's apartment. 2. Protecting herself and her children. Safety concerns. Natasha is concerned about her safety and that of her children, especially after receiving threats and realizing the potential for harm from Dr. Hassan or his associates. Legal and financial independence. She makes it clear that she will not be responsible for Dr. Hassan's expenses or legal troubles, and she takes steps to ensure her own financial independence. 3. Pursuing justice and truth. Reporting to authorities. Natasha is proactive in reporting Dr. Hassan's illegal polygamy to the police, providing them with details about the secret wedding. It was his wife, Dr. Natasha, who informed the police about the unlawful marriage of her husband Hassan. She gave the Canadian police the time, date, and place of the Islamic wedding of her husband. Standing firm in court, she participates in legal proceedings, both as a witness and as a party affected by Dr. Hassan's actions, and does not back down under pressure from the community or his family. 4. Emotional and psychological impact. Betrayal and disillusionment. Natasha feels deeply betrayed, not just by the infidelity, but by the realization that Dr. Hassan, who claimed to have left Islam, still practiced its patriarchal and polygamous traditions in secret. What troubled his Christian wife Natasha more than anything else is neither his cheating on her nor his assault of a police officer on his duty, but his practice of polygamy. If this could prove to her anything in life, is that the Muslim could practice his Islamic taqiyya to fool the smartest person among the so-called infidels. Focus on children and career. After the separation, Natasha focuses on raising her children and continuing her academic and advocacy work, using her experiences to empower other women and speak out against misogynistic practices. 5. Long-term transformation. Personal growth. Natasha's response to the legal troubles is not just offensive but transformative. She becomes more assertive, independent, and committed to her values. Advocacy. She channels her experiences into her writing, teaching, and activism, becoming a prominent voice for women's rights and against gender-based oppression. In summary, Natasha responds to Dr. Hassan's legal troubles with decisive action, ending the marriage, protecting herself and her children, cooperating with authorities, and using her experience as a catalyst for personal growth and public advocacy. Her journey is marked by resilience, clarity, and a refusal to be silenced or victimized by betrayal and